and to um, fulfill what Providence has made for them. And I can't tell you how gifted these 7 folks are. They really
And
truly
to
are, and they're
um,
using their superpowers for
fulfill
good.
what Providence
And
has
so,
made for them.
as we kind of coalesce this morning on our Thursday, um, you know, we were here 12 hours ago. And so, it is kind of a commitment to something that's a higher purpose. It's something bigger than ourselves, and something definitely that we're not going to be able to finish on our own. If we do our jobs, we've instilled the nobility of purpose in other people, and they carry that torch. And we become a story worth retelling at that moment. They carry the torch and they move it forward and finish off. It's just like the cathedrals of old. Those cathedrals took 500 years to build. That meant that the tools handed off from person to person to person to person. And, the people that started on the foundations were not the ones that put the windows in place at the end and put the lock in the key in the door. It's kind of cool when you think about it. But at any rate, this morning, we are going to kind of reevaluate where we should be at. For those that did not add the modules or attach your logo to the V-Tiger, hopefully that's first on your priority list. You need to have those things in place. If you're struggling with those things, talk them through with the folks that are here in the room. Sharon shared last night she only needed 3 modules. When all came to push to shove, she's like, "Look, I tried my best to put in 5, but it was like being disingenuous or inauthentic because I only needed to have 3." That's that's what my purpose is. And so that takes, you don't have to have 5 necessarily, but you want to make sure that you know how to do it. And I think that's why the number is arbitrary, so that it forces you to continue to have that muscle memory and continue to add. So last night we had our homework as being 5 plugins. One of them was a pop up. Um, and I think we're paving the way to have a chat bot that will be built in my AI tutor. And you really want to have that fully done kind of landing page. That's going to be generating your traffic and kind of sucking it in like a giant magnet. Those are the things that we have to work on. So the kind of quick and dirty is what we do on Thursdays. Hopefully we can get this done in about an hour. There aren't very many folks in the room. I see that Stephanie's here. Beautiful Stephanie. I love her so much. And I see Star Boss and Jeff. Welcome. Make sure your laptops are fired up. You might as well just all come up as speakers, and then we can just have an open forum. If we can get it done faster, then that gives the boys more time to finish their own projects. I know that I had a problem. I don't know if other people have had it. Sometimes when I try to log back in, it's like every page has its own password. And even though I'm collecting them and being very meticulous, I get an error message like I couldn't get back in at all. And I thought I must have screwed something up, but I can't replicate the problem. So part of my issue was that I infected my computer with a nasty little virus after class on Thursday, and had to basically wipe it clean. It was not good. But in case I couldn't fix it, I did have another one in the wings. It's a simple kind of Chromebook that I haven't really opened up, but it's my backup to the backup. I know that things like this happen, and I hope that people can learn and do as I say, not as I did. When I was hunting and gathering for different plugins and different modules, um, I ended up hitting something that was malicious. And that was my biggest issue, is that you have to be so careful that in your kind of rote, when you start doing things by rote, because you're like, okay, I'm going to set up a new page and I'm just going to go through the motions, and click, 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 you become lulled into a false sense of security. And what happened for me is that Microsoft especially, and same with Google to some extent, when you're searching for something, the malicious links are pushed up top. And I did not look closely enough, and it was just dumb. So don't do what I did, because you know the technology that I get to play with are usually refurbished computers and things that the cast offs from the robotics team. So I don't have the best tech. I usually give it to the kids, but you still want to preserve it and you still want to be smart about it. So when you're hunting and gathering, don't be dumb, and really pay attention to the things that they tell you to do. For instance, I didn't reroute my DNS for my GoDaddy account. I really want to save that till I have everything in place, because I don't want to frack that up. I don't want to lose the name, basically, by being dumb. And so that is also something that you can marinate on. You don't have to do all of the things right away, but make sure you do have a full page or your full website or your full landing page to the way that you want before you do the really big things, and then if you're still weary, ask questions. That was my other big um, issue, is that I was afraid of being wrong, or having the thought that there's like, Sarah, you made a dumb mistake. Well, I already knew I made a dumb mistake. I just don't want to tell you about my dumb mistake, because I don't want you to think that I'm an idiot, but no, I really was an idiot in that particular moment. But you don't want to put those things out there too. Don't call yourself an idiot, because you're summoning words that to stick to you that really aren't. They're not yours to keep. You're not an idiot. You're not dumb. You shouldn't be embarrassed if it doesn't work. This is technology, and we have to kind of muddle through it. And when you make a mistake, it's like, I am incompatible with this particular technology. That's it. And that's legit. You can own that one. But calling yourself dumb, or that you're not cut out for this sort of thing, that's not for you to own, because you are cut out for this sort of thing. You are insanely creative. You have ingenuity, you have creativity, you have the curiosity. You have a little streak of Loki running through you that says, I'm a rebel and I can do this thing. Own it, because you're gloriously and wonderfully made in the way you're supposed to be. So he doesn't make no junk, is what I used to say in Bible study. So at any rate, we're going to get started. Alisher, is the webpage up and running? Do we have a live stream?
Yeah, it looks like everything is up and running. And
Excellent.
I hear the audio, I check the audio, everything seems to be working. And I think what we're going to do today, we had some review of the overall cPanel and how to make the WordPress, how to add domain. So now we're just going to do a quick review of how to actually build a website. And we'll probably go over the homework as well. We'll see what kind of plugins we can add to our WordPress, right?
Please do go over the web. I will tell you, Alisher, you doing that last week was my saving grace. I'm not even going to lie. I'm just going to tell you. I thank you very, very much for going over the homework, just to have it on the recording somewhere. So I'm winking and nodding at you and giving you a big tackle hug, because you definitely saved me. I'm not going to lie about that.
And also, 5 plugins is actually not that many. There's plugins that don't even necessarily have to be displayed on the page, that can just be in the background, like some SEO plugins that we have discussed. I saw somebody posting about SEO earlier in the week. And I think what we're going to do today is we're going to do like a quick, how do we make a new website in cPanel, and then we're going to jump straight into actually building out our page. And because it's a landing page, it should be nice and quick. It's only one page, and the majority of that information is going to be on one page. And this is your first page, so it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be full of information, be this long page. It's actually better if it's shorter and straight to the point. You want to get the user straight to the point where they fill out that form and eventually get into your CRM as like a lead or a contact or something. Okay, well, let's get straight into it. I'm gonna go to my cPanel. I think we've had this cPanel since day one. I have all of my websites here, and I think the important thing you mentioned is actually pointing your DNS. So let's say you don't want this CSIprogram.org website. Well, We'll shoot. Yeah, we'll do it right now because I have all of our domains here, and I'm gonna take one of these domains and make them a subdomain. So let's say you don't want to put your website on the main domain yet. You can always put on a subdomain. Um, because when you buy a domain, you essentially buy the unlimited variations of a subdomain for it. So you can actually launch, hundreds of websites on one domain, just like you guys are on our cPanels, are on a TSI program domain. It's actually right here as well.
The best way to think about that, Alisher, is that this is the hub of a wheel, and all of the subdomains are little spokes. So we're building the hub, and all of the little spokes all are its own individual thing, but connected to the middle axle. So, I mean, that's the best way to think about these things, is that they're not separated from each other. They are connected at the very heart of the matter. And you need all of them to have a stable, round, circular journey through, the experience that you want to put people through. If you don't have certain spokes, you're going to have a wobbly wheel, if that makes sense. So you want to make sure that you're very cognizant about what you're adding, what spokes you're adding, and making sure that they are all equally weighted in certain ways, meaning you want them all to carry their own weight and look professional and polished and finished, so that you have that smooth, you know, gentle circular kind of way of moving, if that helps you kind of visualize what we're building. Continue, Alisher. An apology for interrupting. I'm just kind of answering pseudo questions in a metaphoric way. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. You guys are building these little pieces that are all going to come together. But as far as the domain goes, well, it's just really a name and a record. So if you want to start using your domain, but you don't want to use like the main domain, for example, this is myapps.ai. I cannot use this main domain because it's already being used. But what I'm going to do instead is make a subdomain that's, we'll make a website for me. I'll make a website for our Friday app, right? There's an app that we're building with Sharon and Kirk on Friday that we're playing around with. So I'm going to make a subdomain for that. Because at the end of the day, if you are starting to share some of your work with people and you don't want to have that TSI program in a name, well, you can always add a subdomain to it and not use the main domain. And just name, because at the end of the day, you could just delete it and move it back to the TSI. And but it's a nice little touch to it, because when it comes to SEO, for example, it's going to look for that domain name. So if, let's say, you're testing and you're building and you're SEO conscious, because this is a landing page, this landing page will need to have immaculate SEO in order to pull in those leads. So what you would want to do is have something in the domain name in a situation, even if you are creating a TSI program domain, that will correspond to the name of your app. So the app we're building on Fridays is called Mindful. So I'm going to include that in the name. I'm also probably going to include Flutter in the name. And, this is going to be a long domain. At the end of the day, we are going to replace it. If I ever want to go live, get a domain that's like mindful.ai or something like that. Now, the name is what your subdomain is going to be. And then the value is the IP address of our cPanel. So that's very easy to find on your cPanel page. In general information, you're going to find something called shared IP address. Should be the exact same IP for everybody at this point. We're all on the same server. And then this is the extra step to what we did last week. So last week, we just went straight in and created a TSI domain, simply because we already have that wired up for you guys to do. But this is like an extra step before, if you want to put it on your own domain, right? So now this is going to be mindfulflutter.myapps.ai, the full domain name. I was just going over with somebody who was starting a new WordPress project. And at the end of the day, this ends up being the first step if you don't have everything connected like we do for you. So it's a good first step to know, because at the end of the day, if you don't have like the domain out of GoDaddy, so the reason CSIprogram.org works is because it's actually not managed by GoDaddy anymore. We took it out of GoDaddy. But since most of you are going to have domains still in GoDaddy, whenever you move away from cPanel, or whenever you want the domain to point to a specific website and a specific server, this will always be your first step, is actually creating that domain and pointing it to that server. So once you start getting outside of the tools that we provide for you, it's the first thing you notice. It's kind of the first hiccup you hit there. Okay, and now I can actually add this domain to cPanel. Now that the domain is pointing, we just have to add it in here and route it to where we want it to go. So this is our cPanel. This is, I think, where we started off with yesterday. And if I want to create a new app, I first need to add a new domain here for that app. And that's just going to keep everything clean and separated and in their own little folders. So I'm going to look for domains and tools. That's the first thing that pops up, domains. This is how I manage domains. This is how I see where domain is pointed to, which folder on my server. And so I'm just going to create a brand new one. And I'm going to create the domain that I have pointed in GoDaddy. So it's going to be the same name. It was, I think, mindful-flutter.myapps.ai. Now, I don't want the document root to be shared. I actually want to create a new folder. And then if you're adding this as a new domain, so myapps.ai is a domain I haven't added here before, it's actually going to ask me to make this subdomain, which you can make anything. Just make sure it's kind of unique. Okay, from here you can submit this. You want to make sure, okay, this actually does create a new folder for me. It doesn't point this domain to some folder that's already taken by an app. You should get a success message, and typically what happens within a few minutes, a security certificate will be issued to that domain. With cPanel, that's set up automatically. There's a few services that do it, a few pieces of software that do it automatically. So it's not just cPanel. There are some open source softwares that you can find that do it automatically as well. Okay, so from this point, I can now make my WordPress. I can deploy a new version of WordPress. I have a separate domain. I have a separate folder that domain points to. It all has proper routes, properly set up. Now I can go to applications. We have this Installatron set up. You can go to applications browser and look for WordPress. Then just install this application. Make sure you select the right domain. Select the domain that you have just created. So the domain I created was, let me see, it was a myapps.ai domain right here. And I want to select the secure version, HTTPS. So it always goes to the secure version. Directory is not necessary because you already have a unique folder there. Make sure you put in an actual username and password that you can use to log in. This is going to be your admin login credentials to edit this website. Well, what's good in Installatron, though, is you can get logged in right away with the link. But still, this is something you want to actually change. So you can type this out and log in case that disconnects, which could happen. Or if, let's say, you move away from Installatron and cPanel, you do need that login. I think it takes like a minute or so for it to install. But other than that, we're going to have a completely fresh WordPress. It's going to have Divi and it's going to have the backup plugin. So I think it's going to have its own front page. So I think some of the first things we're going to do is actually get rid of that front page. I'm going to show you guys how to change that front page, because every website you make in here in this Installtron on our server, you're going to end up getting a front page that was just preset by us. It was just a layout that I went and picked. And so the first step for us whenever this installs is actually changing the front page to our front page. And there you go. Now, whenever you want to get logged into WordPress, what's nice and easy about WordPress Installtron, the second link that ends with WP admin, you can just click on it and you'll get logged straight in. You don't actually need to enter a password and a username. Nice and easy. Okay, so do we have any questions so far about just leading up to this? Because remember, we connected a domain from GoDaddy, and then we added that domain to cPanel, and then we made this fresh WordPress. We deployed it. Also, a quick note. Let's say you want to have this specific version of WordPress anywhere you want because it has Divi. Since most of us don't have Divi outside of CSI, what you can do, there's a quick little trick, is you can use this all-in-one WP migration plugin that's also included, and you can export at this point, and you will always have a copy of a fresh WordPress that you can import into any WordPress. So I'm going to export this as a file. Now I have a fresh copy. Unable to export. It's easy to fix. Nah, just got to update plugins. There you go. Yeah, guys, once we get into plugins, a little bit closer to the end, you can actually update plugins from here. Some plugins have auto update on, very useful. But sometimes plugins need to match for them to work together. And you don't have to do this step, but it's a good step to do if you just want a fresh WordPress with Divi. This will, this is like a $300 WordPress export. So you can just plop into any WordPress website. And it looks like it's pretty light as well. Okay, so what we actually want to do when we get into the new WordPress, especially this WordPress, is change that front page to our front page. So we're going to make an empty front page. We'll throw a layout in there that we want to edit. And what you guys are going to notice is all those little layout packs, they all actually have a landing page that kind of combines all the elements, like the about, the contact. So let's check them out. We'll go to pages and we'll add a new page. That's how we typically get started. So add new page. And right away, the first thing you want to do is give this page a title. Now, don't worry about that title is right now, because it's going to change depending on what kind of SEO we want. So what I'm going to stick with is, I'm just going to call it homepage. Simple. And I'm going to publish. I'm going to have an empty page that's published for now, because we want to save that static. We want to save this name set. Now, if you don't want to make it public, well, what you can do is you can always, let's see, You can always change the status to draft or private, or even password protected. People need a password to get onto this page. All right, now I can actually go into the Divi Builder and select some sort of a layout. So for me, this is going to be a landing page for some sort of an app. So that's what I'm going to focus on. You can also build from scratch, but I highly recommend you select one of these layouts. It's going to save you a ton of time. Time is of the essence here because we're going week by week. So I'm not saying you should have a website, this landing page finished by next week, but we're going to move so fast and we're going to move on from the landing pages that you really should. And these layouts, don't worry about making it exactly how you want it. It's just a landing page. At the end of the day, you yourself will have your own platform and your own website. Let's see. Yeah, but that agreement can't be the only one for an app.
No, it's not like that.
There you go.
I just saw it. I'm like, oh.
Some stuff here. Ideally, you want to look for something that has elements that you want. So for example, let's see. We have mobile app homepage, mobile app landing page. So this is probably the same layout. Yeah. And here you have landing, right? Which is going to kind of combine a lot of the elements together. And for me, for an app, this kind of has the elements that I want, right? It has some mock-ups here with some screenshots. And then it has some buttons here to actually download the app.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm just going to use this layout. And then we'll save. And we want to make this page our home page. We want to actually turn this into the first page that pops up when we get to this website. That's one of the first settings you should start editing. You want to set everything up globally first, and then kind of go into these, go page by page, section by section. Now, guys, I will say one thing. I pretty much don't see like half the screen on my phone. So if anybody wants to jump in, ask a question, feel free.
I got you, Alisher. If anybody has a question, I'll definitely let you know that they have their hands up and get up on stage. I do have a quick question. For these landing pages, and like everybody's kind of just working on them right now. And as you said, Alisher, I think everybody should be able to get like a landing page done, honestly, in probably like a single day, don't you think? Like I feel like they don't need to overthink it. That's the word I'm looking for. Overthink their landing pages too hard right now. Would you say that? Like they need to just get the basics down and then they'll polish it up later as they go?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the easiest thing to do is you get one of these layouts and don't worry so much about the colors. Don't worry so much about like some of these elements here. Just start filling in the text and start filling in the pictures. Right? That's the biggest thing you want to do. So it's really, you don't want to worry so much about what these layouts are. Just want to fill in your information. And that's how you complete it quickly. But yeah, no, I absolutely agree. You don't need to worry about it too much. It is at the end of the day just a landing page, and these landing pages are already laid out and designed by a professional, that knows what they're doing. This one's actually very bold, has some nice effects. I like it. And you just want to start filling them in. And whenever I do want to collect information on this page, well, for me, I could just make like a pop-up form. It could be one of those plugins that I get. But yeah, for now, you just want to fill in the text and the pictures. That's your fastest way to completing a landing page. And then you want to start thinking about, oh, well, I can change these colors here and there if you have time. Okay, well, it imported in for me. I'm just going to save it. It's important to save, throughout the process. So once you import it in, you want to save to make sure that this is the layout that stays here. And now I want to make this my homepage. Right, so you want to start with global settings, and then you'll keep zoning in until you reach actually editing the text and the pictures. Because there's a few things in WordPress that you always end up doing. And one of those things, of course, setting a different homepage. Typically, a WordPress homepage, just like a collection of blog posts, but we're making it a static page. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my dashboard. And WordPress has these global settings, and they're inside of Appearance Customize. So on our WordPress dashboard, you want to go to your global settings, and they're typically, if you don't have like a theme installed, like a custom theme, they're typically going to be in Appearance Customize. If you have a custom theme installed, there might be something like theme options to change your global settings, but we don't. Divi makes it easy. It relies on a lot of the WordPress settings. So now Appearance Customize is going to bring in like a whole different UI for you. And it's going to bring in the front page of the website as well. And from here, what you want to do is you want to find homepage settings. And this will give you an option to change your homepage. So I'm going to choose the other homepage. And it'll give you a preview so you know which one you're choosing. And that's it. That's how you change that homepage setting. So if you wanted the homepage to be any other page, you can set it to whatever page you make, really. Then there's also post page, and that's where the blog is. But this is a landing page. We don't have a blog. But just make a mental note, if you are making a blog, that's where you can find that. Okay, well, here's our homepage. It's all set up. At those images. So there's a few ways to get back to editing the page. The easiest way for you is to just go to your front page and open the visual editor. So enable Visual Builder. Simple. For now, you don't even need to go back to that WordPress backend. For now, you can spend your time here in the visual editor, actually editing the text. And that's what you want to focus on for the next week, right? And of course, we spoke about actually adding some plugins in here. And 5 plugins is actually not that many. It's, if you think about it, well, you're going to add the SEO plugin because you want this landing page to pull in as much SEO as possible. That's one. You're probably going to add some sort of a plugin for protection, right? You're going to get a lot of visitors on this page. You don't want this page, so you want some sort of security. You might add a plugin for pop-ups, right? You want people to see a pop-up, whether you actually release something and you just want to add a pop-up, or you want to add like a form in there. So that's 3 plugins already. Does anybody have questions about how to edit a page? That's very important because I know Ross, while we had the discussion going on, he was actually building a page. And he was showing you guys how easy it is. You just go to Pixio, generate some pictures. You want some text, you can talk to AI Tutor, get some text out of it for these sections.
Alice, sure. I think one of the things I wanted to add in that's helped me is if I'm building pictures in, let's say, Pixio, create all your pictures at once. Just streamline your process so that you're, working in zones. And the reason why I say that is a lot of creatives will bip and bop around, and then what ends up happening is we don't get anything done. It's like, because you're spending time here and then you bip around and you go back to the other page and you realize that you're just wasting so much time. Because my biggest distraction is that I'll go into Pixio and then I'll just play and I forget while I'm there. I start with noble intent, right? I do, I really do. And I'm like, okay, I need a picture of a woman eating a hamburger. Great, I have that. But then one of the generations will come up and it's not that person. And then I get totally smitten with the idea of zhuzhing it. And I am now gone. I am no longer on my project. It's just, it's like a fart in the wind is what my grandfather used to call it. It's just there. It's like, whoop, and it's gone. But if you batch your tasks, so if you know what the theme and the kind of vibe and the intent and your why of your website, you can sit down in Pixio and crank out all of the pictures like we did in the very beginning in season 2 when Ross was creating the farmer's market. So he just sat there and whipped out a whole bunch of pictures of fruits and vegetables with signs, things that you would have to have in order to tell a good story, your narrative. So you're kind of storyboarding out your entire website and batching your tasks. So if you're going into Pixio and you know that you're going to need, let's say, I don't know, 10 really good pictures of different facets of your business model, make those right away, put them in a separate folder, have it on your desktop. Like I don't like looking for stuff, because the minute that I have to look for something, it becomes a friction point and an opportunity for me to have a 1-800-JUSTIFY call to not do what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know that sounds bad, but I know where my discipline lacking lies. And so in order to mitigate the friction points or the non-friction points, I'm very cognizant of how I batch those projects. So if you're creating a folder that is on your desktop that has all of the pictures for that specific project, and labeling it. This is my fruit stand project. This is my rocket project. This is my maker project, so that you have tucked away all of those pictures and resources at your fingertips. So you're not getting sucked into another platform where you can spend thousands of hours doing absolutely nothing but collecting digital clutter. I did that with our, I guess they were the plugins or whatever, when we're looking at all the things that you want to put in your site. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, this would be lovely. Oh, this would be lovely. This would be great. None of them had anything to do with the purpose that I needed them to have. They were just really cool things that people had built in GitHub or whatever. And I wanted to keep them because I thought they were awesome. But they did not keep me focused on the project that I had at hand, if that makes sense. And I hope that helps somebody, out there, because I know that folks do beat themselves up because they've said, I've spent 8 hours on this computer and I have nothing to show for it. Well, sometimes a to-don't list is just as effective as a to-do list. And I have a big to-don't list. I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, don't want to do this. And then it keeps me focused on the things that have to get done in that particular time frame, if that makes sense.
No, you're absolutely right. If you're gonna do, spend the day doing just images, get all of these graphics in here, and then spend the day doing just the text, figuring out what's the right text to put on the website. And a quick trick for the images specifically, actually go to this image when you're editing it. And if you want this to remain, in the same kind of layout and the same size, well, figure out what the size of this image is. You can actually go to the media library in WordPress, and you can see all of the images in here. You can see all of the graphics that this specific template uses. So you can just find the size. You can even download the specific image and mimic this image. Change all the screenshots and mimic the size. And then that way, what will end up happening is you'll replace the images, but the layout and pretty much the design of it will remain the same. Because a lot of times, what we get and what I've heard people is, oh, I put in an image and now this whole section is like different size. Now it doesn't look the same. Well, a quick trick is actually take note of what the size of that graphic was, and just make your graphic the same size. You can go to Canva, you can resize it to the exact dimensions, and then within those dimensions, you can resize your graphic to whatever you want it to be. And take a note of some of the graphics the layout actually uses. So this right here, if I go to view it, each of these have their own URL, they're actually on your WordPress. It's actually a pretty complex graphic. So wherever this graphic is used on the page, I'm going to have to figure out what to replace this with. And if it's something similar, I might as well take the layout of this graphic, take it into Canva, just replace these square blocks with something else.
Can you believe you're watching it?
Yeah, that's as far as graphics go. And of course, you go to Pixio, generate whatever it is you want, and then just resize it. I think actually in Pixio, we also have background remover. So let's check this out. We have a few tools in Pixio to make the images a bit better that I encourage you guys to use, that I've actually seen people use when they're building a website. So it's in Edit Images. And I'll say the first one is, of course, Upscale. You got an image and the scale is less than ideal. This will upscale it a lot. I think this upscales 4 times. This is the newest upscale model, the Aura SR upscale model. There it is. It just makes it sharper as well, I noticed. But yeah, this is a giant graphic now. Another one is remove background. A lot of the outputs you get from Pixio have background. They have, if they have that one tone, green, black, white background, eggshell, whatever wall they're on. Let me see if I have something. Oh, right, I was using these. I think all of these have a background. But I can use this one. There you go. Let's say you have a screenshot. You're trying to do a phone mockup, and you actually got a pretty good result out of Flux. That will most likely have a background. And if you want a PNG and you want for it to blend with the website, well, just go in here and quickly remove the background. I think this also upscales it after you remove it. Yeah, upscale, remove background, 2 great tools to use, especially for website building. If you get a logo out of Pixio, you can just remove background and slap that logo on your website. Done. Okay, any questions so far, guys, before I go quickly into plugins? And what are the different plugins you can get on your website before next week?
I think you're good to go, Sweet Pea.
Okay. Now make sure you save whenever you guys edit. Don't forget this little button in the bottom right. the green save button. Never want to lose your progress. And now you can hover up top to your website name. For most of us, it's probably going to be my blog. We haven't edited that yet. And we can go to plugins. And here you're going to find some plugins that we already added. So the all-in-one migration plugin. But we're going to go and add new plugin. And let's see what we have here. Let's see what are some plugins. Nothing really stands out here. So I guess the first thing we'll look for is SEO. Notice the landing page. It's going to be useful to have great SEO here. So you have a few options. I'll go with the one you used last time, all-in-one SEO. And you guys know some of the things to look out for: number of installations, reviews. When was the last updated? Does it work with your WordPress version? You can click more details, read more about it. You can activate, and let's see if it asks us to set it up right away. Yeah, we'll skip for now. Let's go back to plugins and let's see what else we might need. Right, something for a pop-up. So let's just look for a pop-up. I'm sure there's some sort of a pop-up builder.
Oh, it's already in there.
Which one did you use yesterday, Rose?
Search pop-up. We're now.
Is it this one?
See me? You know the link.
Pop-up, maybe one word.
I think it's but actually, hold on. We just go on Slack.
Oh, I can Slack.
Yeah, it's on Slack. Everybody. Pop-up.
Oh, interesting.
What I like about it is they let you do anything in a pop-up. It's free. I love free.
Okay, so that's what it looks like. That's what we'll look for. There it is.
Yeah, I know I searched long for free for sure.
Recently updated.
Yeah, like 2 days ago.
Useful.
So I'm just like, oh, 2 days ago. Sure.
So that's 2 plugins right there, guys. Oh, literally a new version as soon as you
Today?
install it.
Oh, I forgot to go
This
over
one's
with
a-
Jimmy has an update. And it comes to new teams.
We'll update in a sec.
I forgot to-
Let's see. What else might we need, guys?
That's their homework. I'm
Let's see. What's for security here?
It's social graph is a good one. Or repeat. So
Oh,
when people share,
yes.
it comes out big.
You are absolutely right.
Like the things that you do with their homework. It's find plugins
Absolutely right.
that are useful. Like WooCommerce and like another good one.
I think All-in-one SEO does share it too. But it's a landing page. WooCommerce.
That's true.
I seen this one, Smash Balloon, very popular for your Instagram. You want to include an Instagram feed if you're some sort of an Instagram influencer and you're launching a product. Oh, yeah.
Maybe Shopbot. Maybe.
That's a good one. I spoke of that. You said chatbot, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. There's 100 million of them.
There are a bunch of them.
And if you have a tutor, you want to Crisp is really good, not AI, but really good.
There's Crisp right there, live chatbot. It's another one. If you guys want some sort of chatting agent where people can actually talk to you, like support. So what are we up to? Like 3 now? Performance Lab.
Do we need like warm in bed? Like 3. So for that.
Let's see what's popular. Oh, if you want to connect it to your Google Analytics, highly recommend Google Kit, the Scikit. Super useful. Let's get that on there as well. Why not?
You need like an SMTP plugin to make it work. Once. We're gonna go over that.
Alistair, do you guys like using for security the really simple SSL or the Jetpack? Because it seems like those two are the
Really simple SSL is just like you already have an SSL.
So what it does is it redirects everyone back to the SSL, which is important. These plugins.
But if you set up correctly originally, you won't really need that. Everything will be SSL pretty much 2 minutes after you add the domain to the cPanel.
Sure.
But if you were to take WordPress, somewhere else, yeah, absolutely. Really simple SSL is good. I've seen it on a lot of websites. It also helps like redirect all the unsecure
Like
images. Yeah, images and files to secure ones. Super useful. But if you want something active, if you want something like actually active, that's security. I'm not sure. I don't have any experience with WordFence or Jetpack.
None of these are going to do what like $5 a month.
Yeah.
If you're really serious, get that.
Wait, Alistair, Ross kind of put out there. What do you say? Get what?
Patch Stack.
Patch Stack. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Dave's giving a thumbs down.
Yeah, Dave, why are you giving a thumbs down, friend?
I wonder what he has to say.
You've been summoned to come up here and talk about why. I have co-host. I can summon you. I'm gonna summon you.
But I'll have to do some research too.
Now, how did you spell the Pax or was it Packstack? How did you spell that? Is it got a weird spelling for that?
Patch Stack. I will drop this in
Slack.
Slack. Yep.
Excellent, Smithers. Excellent. Dave, you've been summoned. How are you, friend? I haven't heard your voice in a while, and I want you to know that we love and appreciate you. You've been busy. That's good.
got
Oh my
Productivity is
God,
awesome.
Have an affiliate code, Dave?
No, I shouldn't.
So why do you hate the thing?
I'm so bad with. I don't hate. I hate WordFence because WordFence is a clever marketing of security, and it is really bad and has lots of loopholes. And I would not put it on a hobby website because it gives you a false sense of security. Really, you want at least 2, maybe 3 levels of security. PatchStack is really good. Ideally, your DNS for when you set up your live domain, put it on Cloudflare because Cloudflare protects you before somebody gets to your website. and it has a button that you can check to say, I'm under attack, and it will stop everybody, and it will scan them and verify them and make them go through captchas and all of that sort of stuff. It also improves the speed, reduces your costs for the servers. So ideally, you want DNS level security, which is Cloudflare, server level security, which is a web application firewall. Any good hosting will provide that for you. And then the last level is site specific hosting. But you have to bear in mind that even if your site is safe and your hosting is unsafe, somebody can get in. So it's essentially like having a really big lock on your kitchen door, but your front door not being secured. That's the difference with your website and your actual server as well. I think that's really important for people to bear in mind. PatchStack is absolutely excellent. There is also a service called Malcare, Malcare. You can pay them a few bucks every month. And if your website does get hacked, they will scan and they will detect and they will remove it. Slight difference is PatchStack will warn you about most stuff and preemptively try to protect you. They can't always protect you. Malcare will come in and kind of fix stuff. If you have something as a business website really important to secure and you know have a few extra dollars, I could not recommend enough Sucuri, which is spelled Sucuri. They are a really white glove service. They monitor, take care of everything. They handle a web application firewall and your website security. And again, if something breaks, you open a ticket with them. Once they have access, they log in, they fix your website, they take care of it for you.
Awesome, Dave. I love it, man.
Hmm, I
Thanks for
have
the
to
info. Because
think
I was
about
looking at WordFence too, and I was like 5 million active users, like that. It might be good. And you're saving me from
Well,
wasting my time.
look, you bear in mind, WordFence, its primary goal obviously is a commercial company to sell lots of stuff, which is WordFence. But PatchStack has a second arm to the business, which they're well known for in the industry, which is detecting vulnerabilities. They pay people to find vulnerabilities, not on their client servers, on anybody's servers. They sent me a random email months ago because I've plugins on WordPress and said, we've just downloaded and tried your free WordPress plugin and we were able to hack it. Here's a 1 minute video showing you how we were able to hack it. Please update. Here's what we recommend you update. We won't tell the public for 30 days, but then we will. We release it. They have a database that they release with, I mean, millions of hacks that they discover. But if you're a customer of PatchStack and they detect, say, my plugin vulnerability, they start preemptively protecting people before even that hack goes out publicly. So it's good for me as a developer. It gives me 30 days grace to fix the problems and update the plugin so it's safe and secure. But as a customer, it gives me that kind of early lead time on potential hacks that are out there.
this is an interesting thing that we should think about and at least talk about more. Um, I know that because we're many of us, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I'm a complete novice when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I want to make sure that the things that I'm offering to my customers are secure, you know? And so having these kinds of discussions and making sure that this is in the, it's on the proverbial whiteboard of things that we have to think about.
Can I add
Is
something into that,
important.
Sarah?
Absolutely.
Yeah, what's really important is if you do have any say contact forms, lead generation forms on your website, most of them now within maybe the last 18 months, they have a feature to check a box to say, do not store form entries on my website. That's extremely important. If you're getting emails and the emails work great, you don't need a second copy of a form being stored on your website, because if your website gets hacked, according to nearly every privacy law in every country, you should notify all of those people that their personal data was compromised and you had a data breach. Um, I believe in the US, I think it's something like you can be fined up to 15 million or 3% of your yearly revenue. I know in Ireland and Europe, there's a lot of stuff in that as well that they fine you for it. At the moment, they're only targeting bigger people, but the problem is it's not the bigger people. It's imagine if I filled in a form on your website and next week I got hacked and I didn't know where I got hacked, but your website was the only website I filled in a form. And then I made a complaint to like a data privacy commissioner that we have. And then they said, oh, why did you not tell us? The law states you have to tell us if you had a breach and you never told us. So it's much easier to just eliminate any data. Stripe already takes care of credit cards. They don't store them on your server. But the basic stuff like somebody filling in, hi, I would like to inquire about your service. Here's my personal email address and here's my mobile phone number. You don't want that on your website. You want that in your email system, and that's the only place you want it.
That's
Awesome.
so smart. Go ahead, Cash Money.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's awesome, Dave. Thanks. Like I'm super paranoid too. Like Sarah said, I'm a beginner too with the security for my website. So this information is priceless. And thanks for the recommendation,
Yeah,
Ross.
well, ignorance is safety. It really is. I don't know where the forms are. You know, if they're not on the website, then you don't need to worry about it. But honestly, I've big and small organizations that they get hacked and they have like 500 emails or 5,000 emails stored. I'm like, what are you going to do about that? Nobody wants to go back with egg on their face and tell a lot of people, my service is not secure. I've compromised your data.
Well, you never get a second chance to win back trust. And I mean, right now, if you're looking across the Twitter sphere, all of our social security numbers are compromised, right? And so what you're doing is adding another layer of anxiety. It's not just that your business, has given them that layer of anxiety. It's also now requiring them to, seek out another service in order to protect their, you know, their
Yeah,
data.
yeah.
And that
I'll
is
get a
the kiss
link
of
for you.
death. Kiss
I
of
have a
death.
link. There's a link. This is look one of the fundamental basics that everybody fails at is storing passwords or sending passwords safely. Never send a password in an email. It's if you send it in an email and 3 years later you're hacked, that password you sent to your client is now hacked as well. Um, I have a short, like 45-second video on how to use a service called Privnote, PRIVNOTE.com. You can basically write a private note, and like Mission Impossible, after it's viewed once, it self-destructs. But it's encrypted on your machine. It's not encrypted on a server. Nobody gets access to it. And then you email a link to somebody, and you say, when this link is viewed once, it will be destroyed. Please save the password or details or financial, whatever you're sending that's confidential. Please save it somewhere safe, and then it's not your responsibility, and you've never stored it anywhere.
That's so important. And I mean, my own, like, for instance, my email is all encrypted. It's an added layer of security that says, hey, I respect you. As my client, I respect it. I want you to understand and know that I really, even though we're just sending pictures of, let's say, spec work or whatever, um, you have to make sure that you are on every layer, doing the due diligence and treat your customers the way you want to be treated. You should be wanting your data to be treated in the same way. And so you're elevating and setting the standard, not just in terms of how you're going to treat your customers, but then also how you yourself expect to be treated. Yeah, I love this conversation so much. So, as always, Dave, I'm so glad that you heeded
Yeah.
the siren
Happy to
call and
pop
came
in
up.
and scare
Yeah,
everybody. Maybe next time I'll talk about email demarkification as well, which is something that you all need when you start doing email marketing, so you don't get spammed because you're gonna get blocked in Google straight away in the last month.
well, I can tell you, I never understood the CRM type ecosystem. It wasn't in my wheelhouse. I didn't need it for my business. But listening to you and Emma, having your newsletter, etc., definitely opened my eyes, and it's made this whole entire session and season more relevant because now I understand it. So it's like having these folks, these professionals in our Pocket family, that this is their wheelhouse. And now you say, hey, Dave, by the way, I don't need everything under the flippin' sun, but how do I do ABC? Is this relevant? And having that ability to call on folks that you've seen in spaces, that you've, built a rapport with. That is the currency. That's, makes us wealthy.
Yes, yes.
Collaboration is the next currency.
Find those
Yes.
people, keep them in your pocket. That
Yes,
if
you're my
like
pickup
when
truck guy.
Ross's website went bang, he sent me a DM. I said, "Go here, fill in, like patch stack $5, fixed." An hour or two later, that really helps. What I'd recommend for people when they finish their WordPress website, when they're happy with it, when it's up and running, and they want to make it live, I recommend they create a second account for themselves. They give themselves editor privileges, because you can change the role and the permissions that you have. And I would have a really long, complicated password, not stored somewhere unless it's like one password or something like that, or on a note at home. But if you're just the administrator and somebody gets that, they can do everything. If they just get the editor, they can't do as much. They can't break the website. I've had to fix websites where disgruntled employees had administrator access and destroyed the website, and they never should have had that. When I manage somebody's website, I say, do you want control of the red button or not? And most people, 99% of people, say no. And I say, great, you're an editor. You cannot do anything. Only I can break the website.
And in this case, we have to be in control of the button because we're building it ourselves. So it's like,
No, that's what I mean. Once it's built, you will still be in control of it. But once it's built for the day-to-day operations of adding new articles, updating content, all of that stuff, the editor can do that stuff. Installing plugins, the admin needs to do it. But when you've installed all of your 25 plugins, you don't need to do that next week. And when you need to do that, you log into the administrator account. But most, like 90% of the time, you're going to be adding content in, not administrating. You're going to be editing the website, which makes more sense to have editor privileges. You have access to both accounts, but it just means your exposure is less from the admin side of stuff.
That makes more sense. Okay, I get it. This is good. I am going to definitely bookmark this and snip this audio, so to make sure to go and visit back to it. I don't know how
Yeah,
other
look,
people
I've
do
lots of
it, but I do
articles.
that.
Yep. My website, you can go to hd.ie. That's my web design one, specifically about WordPress. I've articles on, how to recover your website if it's being hacked. Honestly, most people read that article when it's being hacked, and then like message me and say, please
No,
fix it.
I paid attention
But
the last time you talked about it,
yeah,
and I
no,
bookmarked
I
that
have
son of
I
a
have
gun.
lots of stuff like that.
It
I have
is
a guide.
there.
There's a guide section on the website for basic stuff of how to name images that they're correct, how to do SEO stuff, all of that sort of stuff. There's tons of articles on there.
Well, I value you more than you possibly can know. So, just having you in spaces too, but it is definitely something that I've bookmarked, because you know what, it is, the same kind of thing in your real world life. What do I do if my wallet's stolen? you know, what
Yeah,
credit cards do
yeah,
I have in my wallet? Or,
yeah. Plan with
those are
worst
the
case scenario, not best
yeah,
case scenario. And
exactly.
when you're installing all of those plugins, I could not recommend enough a simple Notion document with the name of the plugin and a bullet point below it, say why you installed that plugin, what's the functionality. I took over a website a few weeks ago. They had 87 plugins installed. They had 3 Instagram plugins, 2 YouTube plugins, 4 Google Analytics plugins, because nobody knew what the purpose of each plugin was. Somebody maybe wanted to add Instagram to the homepage, and someone came along 6 months later, wanted to add Instagram to a blog page. And just knowing why we put that in, and if we still need that, or no, we don't have Instagram on the homepage anymore, I can delete that plugin. It obviously makes your website faster and more performant, but it also rules out a lot of software, because you have to bear in mind WordPress is maintained by Atomic, big company, lots of investment. All of the plugins are made by people. Some are companies, some are just doing it as a hobby. Some of them no longer support those plugins or do updates, and quite often there will be vulnerabilities. That's where PatchStack comes in and tells you there's vulnerabilities. And that's where I tell my clients, we need to get rid of this plugin. The developer no longer supports it. He has not done jack.
Your phone cut out right at that moment, and I thought that was very funny. But he wasn't talking about me, just so you know. But I am a digital hoarder. So when I find these interesting plugins, and I think they're so cool. I mean, this is all new and shiny and wonderful. GitHub was the same way. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so freaking cool. No, you have to really look at it with a discerning eye and say, wait a second, step back. What do I actually need? And that's the value of having your why on a post-it note or a whiteboard or right in front of your face. It makes it very easy to say no. And that is a powerful thing, not just in building websites and building businesses. It's in your own personal life. You know what? If you have set that and say, you know what, this is my business model, I am a crafter, or I do this, it's really easy at that point to say, no, you know what? I love the fact that you're coming to me and asking me to do this, but this is not in my wheelhouse and that's not my primary purpose. But here are XYZ people that this is their superpower. And I think that this is their Super Bowl. Let them do that part. And what Dave is kind of illustrating is that constant reevaluation and reassessing. Just because we're building this site and we're checking off our homework is every day from here on out, is that you have to go in. This is just like Farmville. You got to take care of your farm animals, your digital farm animals. You got to check in on them. You got to water your plants. You got to make sure things aren't dying on the vine because, like he said, some of these are big companies. Other are just passionate folks that, for one reason or another, we opened the segment today with the do as I say, not as I did. I did not pay attention to what I was putting into my ecosystem, and it was malicious code. So it crashed my computer. It did all sorts of damage. And it was because I didn't know what I didn't know. And that's another piece of this puzzle, is that, don't be afraid to just stop for a second and say, hey, is this the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Um, in any kind of piece of your life. When I was a broker, it usually meant when you hit that $250,000 mark, you needed a professional to manage your money. You could almost clock with an egg timer. People are willing to do it themselves up until a certain point. And at that point, you're like, I might need some extra help. And thankfully, we have some really, really smart folks in the room that
You
this
make
is
a
their
good
Super
point.
Bowl. Yep.
You make a good point about salary and limits. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes people make on a website is, why would somebody hack me? I'm only a small business. I'm not even a small business. It's just a hobby. And even before the prevalence of AI, there's bots. Like WordPress powers, I think it's about 500 million websites. It's just over 40% of the internet is powered by WordPress. So it's kind of like how dominant Windows is. That's why it's attacked so much. It's the biggest target. If I can fish with dynamite, I'm going to hack WordPress instead of something else. But there's a lot of automated bots that just go out and they can scan and they can see what version of WordPress, what plugins you're using, what version of the plugin, and then they have a database to know if that version of that plugin is outdated and there is a hack to get into it. But it's all automated. They're not going to your website and spending time and effort. There's literally a bot scanning your code, sending it back to the hacker and saying, found a vulnerability over here. This is easy picking. So I think hack-wise, it actually, small businesses account for about 30% of hacks kind of globally, and that's like, you're talking like roughly around like $1 trillion it costs businesses in hacks. But it really depends. That patch stack, it's $5. It's kind of like, you don't know how many people are trying to break into your house until you have an alarm, and that's what patch stack does for you. You start seeing alerts. You would have been ignorant to those alerts, but they would have been happening. There would still be people trying to knock on the door and shake the door and get in. But I think that little small piece of awareness is important. And just bear that in mind, that it's not necessarily how much to invest at the start. It is, how much would you lose, is the way I think it's a better way to invest. If your website is the most basic website and it generates no money. It's not going to end your world if it got hacked tomorrow, honestly. But if your website is generating you $10,000 in revenue every single day, and it takes 7 days to fix it or get back from what you had, well, then it's really, really easy to justify, I need to actually spend money and invest on the security of this as well.
I love it, Dave. I love it. That's priceless information right there. Like Sarah, I'm gonna have to clip this and come back to it. Alisher, I just wanted to check in with you. I was watching the stream. I saw that you brought up that last plugin, a WP something, and then you just switched over. So I just wanted to double check and make sure you didn't have any last little plugin information to tell everybody. And by the way, everybody on the recording too, Alisher literally just did pretty much the homework for you guys live, and you can just follow along super easy. So I highly recommend go checking that out. But Alisher, did you have any notes on that?
Yeah, so the last plugin I installed was WP SMTP, WP Mail. It just helps you send out emails from your website. Let's say somebody does fill out a form. It'll send that information using SMTP and using Brevo, which we are already using for our vTiger, I think. So if you guys remember Brevo, when you signed up for Brevo in, I want to say week 1, week 2. So now we're reusing that Brevo on this WordPress website to actually send out those emails. Let's say send out a notification to you that somebody filled out a form, or send out like a confirmation to that person that, hey, you subscribed. But yeah, that was the last plugin. Let me actually see. Let me go back and see the exact name of the plugin. It was WP Mail SMTP. It's the one with the little pigeon. And it connects to other SMTP services as well, SendGrid, Google. But the one that we're using is Brevo. Super easy to use. So
Postmark is excellent as well for sending emails.
It's really good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Postmark, and they're owned by ActiveCampaign now, and they have their own SMTP plugin. But I use I think it's called WP Fluent. And again, that does the same. It connects to SMTP normally, or Postmark, or SendGrid, etc.
I have so many notes for today. Just so everybody's aware. I took more notes than I normally do. This is important stuff, and figuring out the plugins piece of the puzzle, the module pieces of the puzzle, that is your heartbeat of your website. That's telling the world who you are. That's also telling yourself what's really important. It's kind of really making that mark in the cement and saying, this is what I'm paying attention to, this is what I need to have. And things have to be there for a reason. If you can't justify the space, it's just like if you have a regular retail store. Every square inch has to be monetized, or there's a reason for whatever is in that space. You have to kind of think about it in that respect. And so the real estate that you have digitally, how are you going to fill it, what's its purpose is, and how is it going to filter back and add to the fund, your profit margin. Those are the kinds of things. The things that we put on our site are fighting for, relevance on our site, but they also have to contribute. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about, is how are they contributing? What are they adding? And if I can't answer that question, they go off to the side a little bit and I'll have to marinate on it. I don't care how cool and slick they are. It has to add to my why. It can't extract or distract me. And I just think that's kind of cool. So I think that we're almost about done. If Alisher is good to go and has any final parting shots, my parting shot is thank you for coming, seeing your faces here this morning, investing in yourself, and really taking the plunge, making sure that you're doing the things that you have to do, putting in the extra work. It's not easy, and it's a joy to watch these things kind of matriculate amongst us. It's really, really fun. I just want to say thank you to Dave for coming up and sharing his expertise and being so generous and kind in transferring his skills and his knowledge. Nick Alisher, Ross, of course, as always. You're astounding, just absolutely incredible people. And then Cash Money, Kev, Mattia, Luke, everybody else making everything work. Thank you for doing that too. So I'm definitely going to look back and rewatch because I got sidetracked a little bit because I started thinking about things. And that I think is the mark of a very good class, is that it's not just informing you right then, it's causing new questions to kind of emerge and you to really chew on and marinate on the rough bits of the information and then figuring out how you're going to, internalize them, how you're going to, make them yours. And so today is one of those days for me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Cash Money, Kev, and Alisher, the ball's in your court, loves.
Alisher, I'll hand it over to you first, brother, if you have anything. And if not, I'll take it over. I love it. I love it. Make it look at as real as possible.
I'm dying. I'm so sorry. I love them so much.
If I see welcome at the top of your website as the message, I'm gonna hack it.
And then I'm going to call you and say, hey, how do I fix this? No, I'm just kidding.
And I'll just be like, just remove the welcome message, it will magically work.
That's what's letting hackers in, is the welcome sign. Oh my gosh. Too funny. Close
Yeah,
us out, Kev.
I can't. I'm laughing too hard. You guys are awesome. I love all of you. Dave, thanks for stopping in this morning, brother. Like, come in every single time. I know it's hard with the uh, late nights, Wednesday spaces for you with the time change. But having you here in the mornings and giving some extra plug-in info, that was priceless, brother. And I always love talking to you. And Nick, Alistair, Ross, you guys killing it again. And Sarah, thanks for being the backup and killing it with me on stage here this morning. It was awesome. You know, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the replay. I'm gonna have to dial in and see which options are the best for me for this website I'm building. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm honestly, my mind's still laughing because Ross, I agree. Everybody needs to have X linked onto their websites. That is like that. We should have done that week one. I feel like, you know, but that's too priceless. But anyways, I know you guys are busy. I hope you have an awesome day. Uh, Continue to innovate throughout the day. Keep working hard. I know all of you are. Put in the effort for these websites. I know it'll pay off. I'll see you at ITT 65. Set that reminder. Remind people to come pitch and apply to pitch, and we'll get them in here and have some fun on Saturday, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, guys. I'll see you there. And with that, I'll leave you with the 3 famous words: peace, love, innovate.